We are the poet, the pastor, and the pundit, opining each week on the intersections of faith and politics. We come to you from First Congregational United Church of Christ in DeKalb, Illinois. We hope you enjoy what you hear. Thank you for listening. Let's pause for a moment and everybody's smiling at me. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Poet, Pastor, and Pundit podcast, where we opine on the intersection of faith and politics. You are
Rebecca Parfit.
We know you as Becky.
Becky is perfectly fine.
The poet. You are
Sharon Nicola.
The pundit, and I am John Dorhauer, the pastor here at First Congregational United Church of Christ in DeKalb, an open and affirming and just peace church. Becky, you were absent last week visiting family. How was your trip? How are you doing?
Thanks for asking. Pretty good. My grandson got into a heap of trouble, not his fault. And it looked like he was going to get locked up.
Oh,
He's just 18.
oh,
He's just starting college.
great.
He had no intention of doing anything wrong, but things got funky and he ended up looking at being put in jail,
Yeah,
which was
Heartbreaking.
heartbreaking and unthinkable
and scary.
and very scary.
Yeah.
And he handled it with grace. And he was very clear that he was between addresses because he's just starting college and so forth. And everything, my kids hired a lawyer instantly. And now everything is going along at an even keel and it's going to be okay.
We'll have to do an episode soon
Yeah.
on the U.S. and incarceration and what we do to our incarcerated peoples, but
Exactly.
we'll hold off on that for
Thank you.
now. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
You may have seen, we put Emily Dickinson in your stead. You have a book to show us?
Yes, it's rather a large book. It's called The Life of Emily Dickinson.
That's our poet.
Yes, yes.
And maybe later you'll share one of her poems with us.
I have.
All right.
Sure.
Sharon, how are you doing?
I think as well as can be expected. The week has been harsh,
Yes.
and humorous,
Oh.
and harshly humorous. I don't know if that's a word. There's not a word.
I'm interested.
Well, do you know when we have the world convening and then very displaced because of an immobilized escalator
Yes.
or a tragically misfunctioning or malfunctioning teleprompter, I'd say if we're the butt of jokes, we've deserved it.
Yes.
Yeah, we've earned it.
For me, the humor, I didn't get to see Jimmy Kimmel return. And we'll talk about him in a minute.
Yeah.
But I watched his monologue on YouTube, which went on for 28 minutes, and it was delightful. My favorite part, they show a clip of Donald Trump on that plane talking to a reporter about how terrible Jimmy Kimmel is. No talent.
Oh,
and what's worse, no ratings. That's the clip they show. And then they go back to Jimmy in the studio with a big smile on his face. I have ratings tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The whole world
Yeah,
was watching.
yeah, and celebrating.
Yeah.
And celebrating. And I think even he acknowledged it's not all because it's Jimmy Kimmel. It's because Jimmy Kimmel is standing up for free speech for all of us.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to talk about this week. Two foundational First Amendment constitutional rights, the right to a free press and the right to free speech.
Amazingly enough.
Let's start with, and again, we do this through the lens of faith. First, can we acknowledge that as people of faith, we believe strongly in a person's right to speak freely and the press's right to speak on our behalf without the interference of the government?
Absolutely. Fundamental.
foundational.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I think it's, it's really foundational not only to our Christian faith, but to our humanity.
Thank you.
yes,
It,
exactly.
it's a human right. We were fortunate in our country to have it elucidated so clearly,
Hmm.
Yeah.
in opposition to a king making all of these decisions for
Exactly.
us, to, forming a democracy.
Right.
So
And it's
it's
good to remember.
foundational in more than one way.
Absolutely.
And as somebody pointed out, we have a men's call every Monday morning at 8:30 here in the church. And one of the things we talked about was that freedom of the press is for the purpose of an informed citizenry,
Exactly.
right? If we're being given the privilege of electing our representatives, then we can't have the people we elect being the ones governing the information that we get about them. And so the free press is the only way democracy thrives and survives.
Absolutely.
We can't uphold our duty and responsibility as citizens without that.
Yes.
I think it was President Andrew Shepard who said that democracy wasn't easy. It really required an informed citizenship.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
I think along with that goes the responsibility and the self-responsibility to participate and contribute to that.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to, not familiar with Andrew Shepard. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
look him up.
somebody would ask me
Yeah.
about that because I'd be in really big trouble if that didn't happen. The American President and President Andrew Shepard was played by Michael Douglas.
Ah,
It was a
the light bulb goes on.
It's a fabulous movie. Everybody should
And it's called
watch
The
it.
American
The
President.
American President.
See, I have not seen that.
I'm gonna have to go look that up.
Yeah,
I
me
am
too.
definitely
Take some
intrigued
time to
now.
watch that one because he has a monologue toward the end where he stands up not for his own reelection,
Mhm.
but for the democracy.
Yes.
And I remember watching it the first time going, yeah, that self-responsibility clause there is it's important. And I let my government go on autopilot for a long time
Right.
before I stepped in to be interested.
Well, it makes me now debate which of these subject matters I want to deal with first, but we're going to deal with freedom of the press first. And I want your reactions to the reports that came out earlier this week that Peter Hegseth, the leader of the Department of Defense, um, has declared on behalf of his government that anybody who holds a Pentagon press pass must submit all articles that they intend to publish to the Pentagon for its approval before release, whether they disclose classified information or not. This is unclassified information. And that anybody who A, refuses to submit an article for their approval, or who B, um, publishes without first asking is going to lose their press pass to the Pentagon. Your reaction to that?
What happened to freedom and justice? What happened to the idea that our country was formed with ideas about the freedom of people to not be under the thumb of some other government anymore at all? It's like that stuff has been tossed out the window.
Tossed out the window. Yeah.
What are we going to do?
I don't know. And I'm waiting to see what happens when somebody loses their press pass. It will happen because
Yeah.
your thought.
I'm thinking of high school journalism class
Oh,
where
wow.
there were actually, there was a code. Journalists subscribe to a code of ethics.
Mhm.
And I think it must be very hard for them to try to uphold that code in our current climate. But I try to say to myself, okay, so what's the end game here? A reporter goes in with credentials, takes down notes, writes the story, it gets approved. They leave, they go back to their newspaper and they print the truth. Okay, number one, they're going to lose their press pass. Number two, their publication is probably going to be under assault, which is another stab
Really?
at the freedom of the press.
Yeah, this is the same White House that is suing law firms that oppose them,
Yeah.
that is defunding institutions of higher education, taking tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, of research grants away from them, unless their public speech, their teaching, and their student body comply to the restrictions that this is the government we're talking about.
And is it along with the renegade journalist who publishes. Okay, so more than likely the president will sue that publication. Now we have another issue. Does the publication capitulate,
Right. Good question.
And I mean,
or
CBS has already capitulated.
Uh-huh.
ABC?
ABC has already capitulated.
Now, I'm not sure about the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. I think one of those cases was thrown out for being frivolous. And that's an interesting term now in our
Isn't it?
days, what cases are considered frivolous. And if you're standing up for the right of free
What-
speech and free press, how frivolous is
whatever
that?
case goes into a court under the name the U.S. government
Right,
ought not be deemed by that judge frivolous.
frivolous,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Who knows
Well,
Well,
what's going to happen? Who knows?
I go back to the earliest days when the nation was forming, the Constitution was being written, and the Federalist Papers
Mhm.
came out. Thomas Paine's Common Sense pamphlets were being written. It was already in those early years, as you say, a foundation
Yes.
that the press would have the freedom.
Mhm.
And there were big debates going on and various points of view, and they were fought and argued publicly in the marketplace of ideas where no speech was restricted.
Amazing.
and I still believe that, this idea of a two-party system, that's great.
Mm.
Well, okay. Let me
Another
go on
topic
to-
for another
let me go on
time.
to my main point here. Opposition is necessary. Opposition
Yes.
There
helps
we go.
fine-tune ideas. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
And so when you quash that, when you squash that, you have a single viewpoint that can't possibly be robust enough to be effective and sustainable. There,
Exactly.
I said.
For me, the single greatest indication that the ideas that you espouse are not worth defending
Mhm.
is that you don't allow others to speak against them. And the
Exactly.
only way you can perpetuate them is by silencing those who speak
Correct.
against you.
Yes.
That's the most prominent indication to me that your ideas are not worth defending.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. And guess what's happening?
Yeah.
That is exactly what's happening,
Yes.
right? Taking this a step further, this is now where I'm going to tell a story about the Senate, the U.S. Senate. Donald Trump has been attempting to silence his opponents. We saw him speak on Air Force One to reporters, saying Jimmy Kimmel should be fired. He was
Yes.
suspended. More to that on that in a minute. He wants Seth Meyers out. He wants Jimmy Fallon out.
Mhm.
He talked about a number of the other organizations. He said that historic publishing broadcast companies like NBC, CBS, and ABC should have their licenses terminated. All of this is going on. We talked about Pete Hegseth just a moment ago. While all of this is unfolding, the Senate is now debating free speech rights and free press rights. And in that debate, not Keith Self, a senator from the state of Texas, says this: it is the absolute right of the state to supervise the formation of public opinion. And he says, I'm quoting, wait for it, Joseph Goebbels in defense of my argument. Right. We have a Texas senator in a debate about free speech and free press quoting Joseph Goebbels, who ran the propaganda
There we
campaign
go.
for the entire Hitler regime and the
Yes.
Third Reich.
Right.
That's the defense of his argument for what this government is doing.
That is
How do you feel about that?
That's
That is all you need to know.
that's
Right,
grotesque.
right.
And-
Maybe the second sign that your ideas aren't worth defending is that you have to quote a Nazi to defend them.
Gee.
And I wonder, have people, discern the difference between free speech and propaganda? Because at that time in Nazi Germany, the propaganda was all you were getting.
Yes.
I mean, the Nazis in Germany was winning the war way past the time that they were already beat. But the people were still being told about their
Right.
superiority, let's say. So, in fact, at the time, propaganda had superseded facts.
And
Hmm.
propaganda isn't free speech. Propaganda is speech perpetrated by a government that, as Goebbels says, wants to supervise the formation of public opinion.
Exactly. Supervise.
Yes, there's a lot hidden behind that word,
Right.
And the word
supervise.
freedom does not occur
Oh, no.
in this.
And it is the absolute right of
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah.
I mean, people get offended if we compare what's happening here to what happened with the Nazis in Germany. People get offended and angry if we use the word fascist to describe those who espouse these ideas. But this is the definition of fascism.
Absolutely.
And I started saying, the phrase, this isn't the end of the world, but you can see it from here.
Yeah.
This isn't fascism, but you can see it from
Yeah.
here. And when they're quoting Goebbels on the floor of the Senate,
Really? That is
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, it's believable. That's what's so awful.
isn't that right?
I can't believe it.
Okay,
There was a time when it would be unbelievable. Not,
Yes.
there's a
Uh-huh.
fine line between fascistic and fascism. Okay, maybe our government is totally not fascism yet, but it's certainly
Right.
fascistic.
and let's be clear, we don't at this time, we don't have concentration camps where 11 million Jews, gays, Catholics, and others are going to die.
Polacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the comparison is chilling and not to be.
So
Right.
I don't think we compare easily at this point to 1945 Germany, but to 1933, 1934 Germany.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is the fascist playbook.
well,
that we're-
and I
Yes,
have
it
to
is.
say, what's the difference between the concentration camps in, Alligator Alley to a concentration camp in Buchenwald?
Yeah.
I mean, really?
that there are elements of that. Scale at this point is the difference.
Oh, it's the difference.
And one of the reasons we do what we're doing here is we know that if people don't speak up and speak out and resist and show up and march and demonstrate, that's where we're headed. We know that.
I think it's very important to point that out
Yeah.
and point it out again. I don't think people want to hear that.
How many times did you hear as children growing up, learning about the Holocaust and the Second World War, whatever was taught, that the phrase was always repeated, never again,
Mhm.
Yeah,
right? We do
absolutely.
this so that this never happens
Happens again.
again.
Gee,
And I wasn't naive to think that it would never happen again. I just didn't think because of that it would happen in my lifetime,
right.
right?
Yeah, I
We have
have to-
living memory of this.
So,
in my family, my dad is immigrated here from Germany when he was 18. So he was fleeing Germany, as there was a lot of indoctrination going on before the Nazis actually took over. He was very active in,
He was lucky to get out when he did.
and his father encouraged him to get out. But he was active in gymnastics, not in anything political, but we were brought up. Let me see. He didn't want us to learn German, for example,
Mm.
because he preferred for us to be Americanized. But he had the wisdom to say Spanish is the language of the future. That's the language to learn. And my brother and I were like, sure, like, sure. But
Don't you wish now?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I also wish I had sauerbraten and asparagus. Those are two other. But okay. But we were brought up with a huge respect for the freedoms that we had.
Yes,
Right.
that's,
We were not as cognizant about the economy. We were very free spenders. And talking to a dad who said they gathered milk in the town square, and each week that they went to get their proportion or portion of the
Yeah.
milk, it was watered down more and more and more to be stretched out. And
Yeah.
we were, baby boomer kids. We were like, you got to be kidding me. It's never going to happen. I mean, we're babysitting, we're making money. And
oh boy.
well,
No,
and
it's true.
we were so free. We had so much.
Yes,
It was inconceivable to think, why would you give that up for less freedom?
right. And you
What would
wouldn't
free us?
voluntarily if you knew what was going on.
Right.
Right. So, one more subject I want to cover before we leave. I can't help but think about the cultural phenomenon that was Jimmy Kimmel this last week, where we went from the president not just saying to the head of the FCC, Brendan Carr, make this happen, but really to Nexstar, who has like what, a $6 billion buyout bid for CBS.
Really?
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what this is about.
Oh, that's what this is about.
And so when the president said to Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, and to Nexstar, make this happen, they've got a $6 billion deal on the line. What are they going to say to the president?
Right.
And so they caved.
Of course.
And yet,
One
go
might
ahead.
say money isn't everything,
One could try.
but okay, go ahead.
2 nights ago, Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air.
Right.
And I don't know if you've seen his monologue,
No,
if you
I would
haven't.
like to.
Oh, it is
His-
delightful.
His entrance onto the stage and take it from there.
So I was saying before I was interrupted, I think is how he started.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and the clip of he played the clip of the president saying he had no talent and no ratings, and they come back to him and he says, "Now I do."
It was wonderful. It
That
was
needs to be
classic.
shown widely.
It was classic.
Here's what I'm celebrating, not just the return to the stage of a comic figure, whether I like him or agree with him or not, when even Ted Cruz
Right.
is saying to the president, "You've extended your power too far," then here's what I'm celebrating, that within a week, that $6 billion deal
Yeah.
wasn't as important to the FCC and to CBS and to Disney, or ABC, I think, because Disney runs it, as what the people rose up and did within 1 week.
Right.
Reports late this week were that Disney lost $3.5 billion in value in 1 week.
Yeah.
Right
So-
on.
That's democracy. of
One
labor.
week, $3.5 billion over here, a $6 billion deal hanging out.
Yeah.
Over there, right here.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do
Yeah.
the math. $3.5 billion in a week.
Absolutely.
Multiply that over 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Comes to be a bit of money.
Yeah. No, I'm so proud of everyone who stood up and rallied,
Yes.
because again, I love Jimmy Kimmel. He's adorable, lovely family. It wasn't just Jimmy.
No,
It was
right.
free speech. And that's
We
what
all knew what
people-
was at stake here. Ted
Yes.
Cruz, for crying out
That's
loud, knew
what
what
it-
was at stake here.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
Because it's all perfectly well to decry this and to be
Right.
sorry about that and to feel terrible. But meanwhile, it's still happening.
Yes, but I think we should at least be somewhat cheered that the voice of the
Yes.
people, the massing voice of the people was heard.
Yes, that is the key thing right there. It's called free speech.
Yes. There was a time early in Trump's uh, second term where it looked like everybody on the right and the Republican Party was lining up with him.
Yep.
We're starting to see cracks. You've got Marjorie Taylor Greene tacking to her door a call for the Epstein files to be fully released. You've got
Really?
Ted Cruz taking to the airwaves and saying to Donald Trump, this is a bridge too far. We're starting to see cracks.
Yes.
And that's because people are speaking up,
Yes.
showing up,
There you
resisting,
go.
demonstrating.
Speaking
And
up and
that
showing
is
up.
what we must do.
Yeah. That really is our call at this time in our lives.
Yes.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the two of you for showing up each week and speaking up.
It's a pleasure.
Well, it is for me. As we do each week when we come to the end of our little discussion, we give everybody an opportunity for a final word. Do you have a final word?
Yes. Liberty and justice for all.
That's beautiful. And I'm going to come back to you in a minute. Why don't you pick out a poem to read before we go? And you have first your shirt.
Yes.
Keep your theocracy out of my democracy.
I
Yes.
try to come with a word, plastered on my shirt every week. And I must say, when we talk about talking out, there's also that part about listening. And for me, wearing a shirt usually engenders some comment.
Yes.
Sometimes it's positive. I was thanked on the walk over here for wearing my shirt. As a poet, well, never mind. But the other thing is there are people who might object.
Mhm.
And I'm just as willing to hear that
Yes.
as I am, thumbs up on the shirt. So
Yep.
I think that listening part is as important as our speaking up part.
Good. I do too. Thank you.
My final word is pretty much the same every week. We need each other. We're in this together. We will get through this.
Yes.
And now, what does Emily have to say to us this week?
Emily, bless her heart. Well, I'll just read it.
Yeah,
It doesn't have a title. She did not title her poem.
never did.
No. And in fact, she barely left the house. She was a real recluse
Mhm.
and fabulous. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer, my gown, my tippet, only tulle. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity.
Oh, Emily, she always does it, doesn't she? That's the poet. I'm the pastor. Here's the pundit. Thank you for listening. We opine each week on the intersection of faith and politics. Thank you. That was our podcast this week. Be sure to tune in next week for another edition of The Poet, the Pastor, and the Pundit, opining on the intersections of faith and politics. Thank you for listening.